to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Voices. I'm joined by Sandra. It's just your second time on A Breath of Fresh Voices. Thanks for joining me again. And today we're going to talk about invisible illnesses. So for those of you who don't know, invisible illness is a medical condition that cannot be seen. And there's so many invisible illnesses, but we're just going to discuss today what it's like living with an invisible illness. So I'll start by just explaining that I have Crohn's disease, and Crohn's disease is inflammation of the digestive system. It comes under the umbrella of IBD, which stands for inflammatory bowel disease. And with that disease, you can either have Crohn's or you can have colitis, and it can go anywhere from your mouth all the way down to your anus. So it's your complete digestive tract. And I have it in my small intestines. So Sandra, if you want to tell everyone a bit about what's wrong with you.
Okay then. Do you have time? So MS is basically an autoimmune disease. So it's when the myelin is something that protects your nervous system. I think I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I'm sorry. Well, don't have to be sorry, I guess. It affects your nervous system. So your immune system, instead of fighting diseases and stuff that it normally would, it fights basically itself. So it kind of like eats away at the myelin that protects your nervous system, and that controls like your senses. Like it can cause irritable like bowel. It can cause like tension on your bladder. There's so many different things it can affect when it comes to your body. That's why everyone's is different. Like there are different types of MS. There's like progressive MS. There's like oh my gosh, mine's gone blank. This is another effect of it as well. Your mind goes blank from time to time. There's just so many different types, and like everyone's body is different and affects everyone differently, which is why it's another invisible illness where you just can't speak on it, where you know what someone else is going through, because it affects everyone so differently.
Yeah, Crohn's is exactly the same. Also an autoimmune disease as well. And every person that I know with it or have read upon has it quite differently. Like it's obviously the same, we're all under the same umbrella, but everyone's symptoms are completely different. So like for me, but the main symptom for Crohn's is how it's diagnosed normally is because people can't control their bowels. They're going to the toilet like 16 times a day. Whereas I never had that. I actually had the opposite, where I wasn't going to the toilet. So it was I've had IBS, not to be confused with IBD, completely different things. I'm going to get to that.
What's IBD?
So that's inflammatory bowel disease. So that's like an uncurable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for me, my small intestines are full of ulcers. It is something that can be put into remission, but there's no cure. I've been diagnosed for 2.5 years, but I've had it for longer than that. But I've never been in remission. So every time I go, I've always got like some sort of ulcer there, or I am on medication to keep me stable. But because I had IBS for so long, they kind of just thought that's what it was. And because constipation isn't something that is a regular symptom, they just it took a long time to get diagnosed. It was actually about 3 to 4 years. How about you? How long did it take you to get diagnosed?
Oh gosh, I'd probably say it's similar sort of timing, because like, so I started off getting like really weird tingling sensations in my hands, like pins and needles, and numbness. And obviously being like someone who's quite active, like I think, like, I don't know about you, but do you feel like you know your body a lot more? So if anything were to happen, you're like, nope, that's that bit on the shoulder, like you know exactly where it is that's hurting, just because you're aware of like using every part of your body. So for me, like I was getting pins and needles, and that was happening for about 3-4 years, and I'd gone to the doctors a few times about it, but no one kind of like knew what it was. They would just say, oh, you're fine, you're healthy, you're young, like it's nothing. Like they kind of made me feel like I was imagining it, but I knew that there was something wrong, because it's not normal to have like a sensation of pins and needles in your hands and arms for like ages. So I went to the doctors, and like over like a period of years, like I had to eventually kind of like cry, like force tears out, like no word of a lie, I had to force tears out to kind of say like, this is uncomfortable, like I shouldn't be feeling weak like this, like. And then they finally gave me an MRI scan, and that's when they realized that there was something up.
Right, yeah.
So it took like that kind of like putting pressure on them to kind of make them feel like, no, you need to test me. And I feel like that's another thing when it comes to invisible illnesses. When you're someone who's in the category of being young or you're quite active, naturally, I feel like you kind of get put to the side because they feel like, oh no, but you're active, like like you're fine, like your body's young, like you can cope with it, like you're still moving, so you kind of get pushed aside, like no, you're still active, it's fine. But I think when you know yourself and you know what you're capable of, you know that this active, like your version of active is not their version of active, like you know that you can probably run like 10k with like no problem, and then all of a sudden when you start feeling your legs are numb and you can't run 10k, you drop to like 5, then you're still thinking, okay, this isn't me. But to a doctor, sometimes they think, oh no, but you're still moving, so like that's better than some people. And then you kind of get put into the category of like, you'll just be, instead of being really good and active, you can just be like moderately active, which is like another frustrating thing. I don't know if you've dealt with that.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I know my body so well. I'm actually a master Googler. I know that people say don't Google things. Yeah. I'm one of the people that I don't just Google and see the first thing like, oh, you're dying. I'll literally go in and I'll listen on forums and I'll read different people's stories. And I actually like was going back and forward to the doctors for so long, and actually I got lost in the system basically. So I was going backwards and had to do, so for Crohn's you have to do like a stool test, the first thing that you have to do. It's horrible, but you have to do it. I'm so still doing stool tests now. I'm not the first. I remember the first time. Yeah,
no.
I was like, I can't do this. Oh, so like, but now I'm just like, yeah, here you go. Like it's just.
Do you know what it is as well? Like, because like they told me to do the test to make sure that I didn't have Crohn's as well. And then like when you're doing it, do you know when you're giving to the counter and then you're like, can I just pass my and they're like, what was that? And you're like, I just want to give my samples. What samples? I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I have to show you like what it is? Like, do you want me to take the shit out of the bag, literally? It's so awkward.
I've been there so many times, and it's just it never gets less humiliating, like every time.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know.
So I did that.
You know they're used to it as well.
Yeah, they are. They don't care, but the whole queue can hear that that's what you do.
I know exactly. It's cringe.
I had to do that, and then I never heard anything back. And I called and I said, "Oh, I've not heard anything back," and they said, "Oh, you if you no news is good news. If there's nothing wrong with it, they're not back to you."
Yeah.
So I left it about 6 months, and then I went to the doctors for something completely different because I also suffer with chronic bladder infections, which I'll go into later. And so I went into that. I get like literally one every single month of the year, and I went in for that, and the doctor was like, "Oh, I just wonder why you never came back about your stomach pains." And I said, "Well, I did, but I never heard anything." And she said, well, it says here we sent you a letter. And I was like, well, I get all your letters, so I didn't get a letter. And she was like, well, it came back as raised, so we're going to need to do another one. But this is like 6 months later. So they did another one, and they called me within 2 days and was like, okay, we actually need to get you in for a colonoscopy and do that. But actually I just got lost somewhere in the system, so I could have actually been diagnosed a lot earlier. But then getting for your colonoscopy was another 6 weeks. And then after the colonoscopy, it was another, like, how long before I could actually see a specialist? Like, it's quite a lot. It's a lot of waiting and a lot of, like you say, they expect because you look fine. And I also have chronic fatigue, which is, for me, out of all the things that I suffer with, is the hardest thing for me. And I used to go to doctors all the time, like, I'm so tired. And they'd just be like, yeah, but you do fitness, you work in early in the mornings, you're doing this. And I was like, but I never used to feel like I didn't feel like this. And it was one time that I fell asleep at like 3 p.m. I didn't wake up to the next day at 7 a.m. And so I called the doctor and was like, you need to do something. Like, I've literally like 17 hours I'd slept for, like something stupid like that. And I actually woke up like a bit scared. I was like, oh my God, it's the next day. I've wasted a day of my life. And I was still tired. And it was like, that was when it got to its worst. And they were like, okay. That's when they started to take it seriously. But that is something that is something that I think is, for me, is the worst of everything. It is a symptom of Crohn's, but I also suffer with that just every day. And it's like, that
so it's even worse then.
Yeah, you suffer. It's hard because like, it's really hard to explain to somebody what fatigue feels like, because obviously we work in a gym environment and everyone's tired, and tiredness is absolutely valid, and everyone's tired, but
it's not the same though.
It's not the same. And when the way you feel, I feel like sometimes if I don't lie down, I'm going to be sick, or if I don't like on a tube or something, like I want to sit down, and like I'm so embarrassed to kind of ask. I'm getting a bit better at that now. I don't like to wear the badge thing, but I don't mind asking if it's bad and just be like, do you mind if I sit down? Because most people are okay if you do that. And I feel like if they're a badge, most people just kind of do that anyway because they don't want to stand up. They just look away. So I don't like to do that, but it's like, like, for me, I really struggle with being like open about how tired I am, because also I think people don't want to hear it all the time, you know, and you're like, yeah, I'm just a bit tired, and people just
you kind of get judged on it a bit.
Yeah. Do you have any fatigue with your MS?
Yeah, the thing is, like, I would say that I didn't really know what it was, just because, like, I just feel like whenever really these things aren't spoken about, so you don't know what they are. Like the same with heartburn, but I'll get onto that in a bit, or like chest pain. Like I didn't know what it was until it hit me, and I was thinking, my gosh, like this is dreadful. Like this is like it's ridiculous. Like you know, tired feeling when you've woken up, like or you've done like a million classes and your body's aching, but you can still feel like you can function. But this is like it's taken over you, and you know, like you're thinking in your head, but I had a good amount of sleep, I've had healthy food today, why am I feeling this way? And you're literally trying like to keep yourself like it seems like you're trying to keep yourself alive. It's just it's a very difficult thing to experience, I'd say. And it's something that most people would just say, oh, you should get an early night, oh, you know, why don't you try this? And it's like, hon, it doesn't work like that, sorry.
It does, and
like,
I think loads of people love to kind of try and be a doctor for you, which I find really,
and help.
I find it really. I know some people are trying to help. Like with Crohn's, a lot of people just assume that it's IBS, and a lot of people with Crohn's have IBS, but it isn't the same thing. So a lot of people me, oh, should you be eating bread, or maybe if you didn't eat that pasta, or maybe if you ate this, and I'm like, I know that my Crohn's is not like food doesn't help for me. So I obviously eating a healthy balanced diet is obviously going to help me better than eating takeaways every day, because that will bother my symptoms. But like for me, for example, I can't have high fiber diet. All the things that people, the regular person, think is good for you, is not good for me. It irritates my so much. And a lot of people will be like, yeah, should you be eating that? Should you be eating this? Or should you be eating white pasta? And I'm like, have you, like, if you're going to give me advice, go and read up on these, and then
do your
don't just assume that you know because you have IBS or you have, you know, it's not like you have no idea like what we go through on a day-to-day. So unless you're going to take the time to like research it and then be like, oh, I've read this about Crohn's, then I'm absolutely but just to be like, oh, maybe stop eating that, or maybe eating this, and it's just, you know, it's really ignorant, isn't it? And it's like I've slept more than probably anyone in this room, which I understand that's why I've got no sympathy, but I feel like I'm going to keel over. And that's a very hard thing to deal with when you're working in fitness too, and even in acting, because you need to have the energy in the room, and obviously when you do have that energy, you're giving so much of it out. So then I feel like the adrenaline keeps you up for that bit of time, but then when you leave the environment, it kind of hits you even more, because you've taken more than the average person does. Like, because when, not to say that that the average person doesn't work hard, but I think when you're working it in like a 9 to 5 sort of environment, like your energy is used different to when obviously you're working in fitness and when you're working in like acting, because you're being very active and you need to give a lot in the moment. So like it's given like really high burst of energy and then not having as much left for yourself. So it kind of just like 100%.
The industries we're in doesn't it doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. And I think that's another thing. Like I've been in situations where, like, for me, flare-ups happen out of nowhere. Like they're just most time I can know it's kind of coming on, or I can feel like, but it can literally hit me out of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, and it's so difficult to explain. Like I feel like as well, I am someone who I don't think I handle pain better, but I hide pain quite well. So I've been in a situation where I've got to teach a class and I'm literally like on the toilet 3 minutes before I'm about to go, and I'm like, oh God, how am I going to get through this? Like I'm in agony, and I'll just go in and be like, you know, absolutely fine, and they think it just all, but I'm teaching a class and on the back of my head I'm like, oh my God, I need to get out of here.
Suffering.
So I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because I think sometimes then people just, because I put on a brave face all the time, people just think
they don't. No, I get what you mean. Like we've all been there when you kind of like you're feeling like you're suffering, you're in pain, and then you push yourself through. And like I think it's a bit of both. So for me, I think it's not healthy to keep telling people you're okay. And the thing is, I'm saying this, but I do the same thing as you. Like I will blatantly, even though I know I'm tired, I'll still choose to go and cycle back home, like, and like make extra work for myself. Someone will offer to do something to help, and I'm like, oh no, don't trouble yourself, it's fine. Even though it probably would help me massively. But when you're so used to just doing it yourself and kind of like getting on with it, it's hard to just accept help.
Yeah.
So I get that, but then also I feel like, on the other hand, if you do kind of like push through, your body's used to getting up and fighting it. Whereas I feel like if you weren't to do that, then your body would just accept it and kind of just like accept whatever comes its way. So I feel like it's a bit of both. Like, I don't want to kind of like give into my body and be like, you know what, just take me, fatigue, take me, like I'm tired. Like I want to fight. Like I want to fight and make sure my body knows that like I'm the one in control. And like this thing's not gonna take over my life. Like I want it to know that I'm the one that's in control. So it's like a bit of balance with both. But then doing things like this, I feel like people will be aware more of like illnesses and not actually be as ignorant when it comes to certain situations.
Yeah, because I think, do you think with your friends and stuff, or
Mm.
that they want to supportive and to like sometimes forget? And when I say forget, what I mean by this is sometimes I go, oh, I'm not feeling very well, and they'll go, oh, why? Or I go, I've got a stomachache, and then I know they not always gonna think, oh, it's because she's sick, but sometimes I'll go, I've got really bad today, and they'll go, oh yeah, same, I think maybe you ate something yesterday, and I don't have to say every single time, no, it's actually no, it's the Crohn's. Like I like. And I know that because I said this to somebody and they were like, well, then what do you want us to say? And I was like, but then it'd be so much better if you go to me, is it the Crohn's or is it something else? Then at least I can, oh yeah, it's the Crohn's. Or I can be like, oh no, actually, something. It kind of stops me from being like, oh, every time having to go, no, I've got Crohn's. Like I know people
explaining it.
Yeah, people that don't know me that well, it's different. But people that know me well enough, like they go, oh, maybe you're just this, or are you, you know, because I get really bad bloat. Like my bloat can be so bad that I look pregnant.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Insane. And like people will be like, oh yeah, I get that too. Are you coming on your period? Or, and I'm just like, but you don't know, like you don't get like I don't mean period bloat is nothing. Like my belly is rock solid and I look like it is. I actually can't believe when it happens that my belly can even do that. I'm literally like,
wow,
insane, like what happens to my stomach sometimes. And people would just be like, oh, like are you pushing that out? And I'm like, why would I do?
Why would you? Yeah, it's a Tuesday, let me decide to do this on a Tuesday afternoon. Like it's just it's just something you do. Like
I've been offered
I completely understand.
That's how big my belly goes. Someone has got up on the train and asked me if I wanted to.
Really?
Yeah, that's happened to me twice.
I mean, at least you get a seat.
Yeah, no, like literally they'll give a seat because I'm pregnant, but not because I'm ill.
And you're like, fine, I'll take it.
And I've just been like, okay.
Yeah, no, because you can't.
How do you feel
That's
about
crazy.
How do you feel about your friends? Like,
do you know what? Like, my friends, that bless them, they are really sweet, very loving. So they are kind of like caring, and they make sure like I'm okay. They're like, no, you should do that because of this. Like, it's cute because it's protective, but I feel like unintentionally, of course, like we're all human. People do forget. Like they forget that, you know, you're feeling a certain well. They forget that it's because of this. They come up with remedies. Everyone becomes like doctor, Google doctor overnight, and like it's all. I know it's all good intentions, so I can't really say anything about it. Although there are, I'd say, people that I wouldn't class as friends, but they know, and they should know better. And that's when I think it becomes like an issue. It's the ignorance. I think like if you do know better, I feel like you should kind of know. You should know yourself and know how to ask questions and know how to speak properly, because like it's insensitive and it's just sometimes it's just tiring. Like it's tiring, like having to deal with comments that are just like completely ignorant, and like you get that not everyone understands it, but I just feel like if you are a considerate person or empathetic person, you would know when to like actually open your mouth and speak constructively or to shut up. Like it's just simple. I think like it's just human nature. Like be kind to people because you don't know what people are going through, and I feel like that's something that we all need to kind of do better with. But like my friends, that they're really great. Yeah, they are really great and really loving. It's just the, like you said, oh maybe it's this, oh maybe it's a bit of period pain, or like maybe it's like just something else and something you ate, did you do this? And I'm like, no, I know exactly what it is, but then I'm like, oh, forget it, it's fine. Like there's no point, because you know that they just mean well, so I'm like, I'm not gonna get into it. It's only if it happens probably like too many times, then I'll probably pull up on it and be like, actually, like you keep saying this, it's getting to me now, like could you just say it in this way? And then that's when the communication comes in, I guess, when you just tell them like, okay, this really affects me, can you like next time just say this to me, or like ask this if you can, and then you work with it, go from there, because people won't know until you tell them, I guess, how to speak to you or how to.
I think we have got to be in control of kind of telling people at least once. I think I really used to struggle to talk about it in the beginning. Like I was very close to tell anyone about it for probably a good year. And I've had situations where people have said things to me, and like it really depends on the day as well. Like sometimes it really does bother me. And like I think I've told you this before when I was at work and somebody said, oh, I feel like Sula today, I'm really tired. And I was like, and that day was just the worst day this person could have said it to me. And I know
exactly.
that way. And I just cried. I was in the toilet and I was just like, I'm so tired, and the last thing I need is someone to make a joke about it. I was like, I literally as well, like you were saying about like getting confused. I get brain fog is a huge symptom of like Crohn's, and I think I'm not sure whether it's the Crohn's or the medication. I'm not really sure actually, but I get brain fog so much. Like I can be half sentence and be like, sorry, what was and I'll be like, I don't know what's happening, like, or like it's just I can't explain it. Like I'm in the moment, but I'm not present, and it's like it's so confusing to explain because it sounds like an excuse for just not listening to what people are saying. But I've learned to try and see it in the moment and go, I'm really sorry, but I'm like not with you, because in the like but anyone that knows me now knows that I can say that and they get it, but I couldn't just say to a stranger like I've completely missed everything you've just told me. And it's like I don't know, or like I don't know, it's just weird, like my memory's completely off key, man. Like and then
it's like a slower response sort of thing, isn't it? Like it takes the information gets your brain, it doesn't go as fast as you're used to.
That's definitely me. But we have friends, I've got great friends as well, the ones I've got with me now. Like me, I think I learned a lot through who my friends were through getting Crohn's, and I hate to say that it sounds so cliche, like you know who your friends are when you're sick, but you actually really do.
No, it's true, because it's true of anything, man.
One thing with like I say, invisible illness, for example, like I've had to cancel on my friends so many times because I've literally had a flare up, too tired, whatever. And I've started trying to say to people like, I really want to come, but like I've got to let you know near the time on how I'm feeling. When I know
of course,
like a thing, but I never used to say that. I used to be like, 100%, and then I'd get and be like, oh my god, I can't like move. And I've been in a situation before where I've had a concert booked and I've pushed myself to go, and I'm telling you, like, thank God I made it to the toilet, mate. I was in the concert on the toilet, like can you imagine just in a concert and I'm like in the toilet on the toilet having the worst flare up, and that was like the last time I was like, I'm not doing that again. Like I'm not,
it's not worth it.
Shit, because you don't want to be in a social situation like that. And then the amount of friends that like basically just came for me and was like, you know, you're always letting us down, you blame everything on your illness, like you can't choose that as an excuse time. And what I find really interesting, and this is the whole thing around it being invisible, as I had an operation this year that wasn't a nice operation in the sense the recovery was horrible, but it wasn't like a life-threatening operation. It wasn't anything like huge. But the people that were like my friends before were like, oh my God, are you okay? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, because you can see I've posted something on social media with a hospital gown on, you are now okay. You're like, you want to be with me. But when I'm actually way sicker than I was when I was in hospital, you don't want to talk to me come to your birthday. Like, I just think like that's the whole thing with people not being able to see it. As soon as they see you in hospital, you get all the messages, okay. But when telling them personally, like, I'm not well enough to leave my house today, they don't realize. If they can't see it, they just can't. And that's what I find really frustrating.
No, 100%. I've had the same thing where I've not gone somewhere because I've just felt like I've had like a really bad headache, and like it's not a thing where it's like, oh, you'll be fine, just take a paracetamol. Like, no, this headache is making me feel like physically vomiting, like constantly, like I can't like function. So I'm like, what's the point of me going? Because I'm just gonna sit there, suffer in pain, and be angry at you for forcing me to come. I'm like, no, it's not worth it. So I've had the same as you, where you felt like you've booked something and then the day comes and you just feel weird because your body's not 100%. And then it's also annoying because you feel like everyone else there is like, you know, they may not all be fine because people hide stuff, and, you know, people don't talk about their like problems all the time. But as far as you know, everyone's fine and healthy and like in good spirits to go. And you don't want to be the one there that's like, you know, not complaining, but kind of complaining. Like you don't want to be there suffering, because I don't know about you, but whenever my friends like, or anyone's like down or feeling something, like you can kind of tell. So if you're out and they're like, you feel like someone's a bit lost, or someone's like kind of like looking like they're in pain, then you feel like, oh, why did I drag you out? Like, what, you're right. Like, and then you feel the need to constantly check on them. And I wouldn't want to put that on anyone else, to actually be like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? Like, I don't want people to ask me what's wrong. Like, I know what the problem is. Let me just sleep and then like get back up and then I'll be good. But like you said, like people only realize it when they physically see that you're in pain. But I'm like, okay, but I'm in pain like most of the time, and like my head hurts most of the time, but you don't see that because I just push that to the side, and like it's gotten so normal that I feel like it's normal to have a headache every day. I've just like made that my tolerance of pain, like it's just normal. That's how my head is. Like I just have like a weird headache all the time, but people don't get that. And like I feel like sometimes when you're out, you're just like people force a lot onto you, and then you're just taking a lot more than you should, like a lot of energy, when you should be giving that energy back to yourself. But it's hard because then obviously I like going out.
It's so nice when people do understand. Like my friend got married, I think 2 years ago, and I like something like a wedding is something that you just don't let people down for, is it? But was as I got diagnosed, I think, so I was really going through it, and I literally, but in my like, I feel like now I would just say it in advance, but I think because I'd just been diagnosed, I didn't know how I was going to feel. I was like, no, in my heart of hearts, I am going. But it was out of town, and it was like, and I had to message her like a week before and be like, I'm really, really sorry, but I can't come. And she was like, oh my God, I've got Crohn's. Like, I absolutely understand. And it was such a breath of fresh air for someone to just go, I really actually understand, as opposed to pretending that they understand. And it was just kind of, and obviously there's a mental health thing that comes with it as well, because when I was at like probably worse, I just feel so down because I'm such a social and for me, like drinking, like I love drinking, like anyone you know I do, and like everyone's like, why do you give up the alcohol? But that is like a joy for me in life. Like, I'm not a pisshead, like I don't get drunk on the weekend.
I know you like
to have a drink. I love to have a drink and be social and go to bars. I don't really want to be the sober person. Like, I actually want to have a drink. That part of me, when I went through stage where I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a little bit of a break, I was like, I know it sounds such a little problem, but it's just that thing of like something that I enjoy doing.
It's not though, that's what you like.
I like going to bars, I like going out with my friends, you know what I mean? I like going to party and stuff. And I was like, also all my friends that made me feel bad for not going, I was like, how do you think I feel like not being able to go? Like, I don't know if it affects you mentally in the sense of like your mental health, but I go through waves with it. Sometimes I'm like, I'm okay, but I do go through I'm just like, I'm so down, like, and I just
you do. No, everyone does, man. You go through those phases where, like, when I first obviously got diagnosed, I just went through the phase where I was like, oh, why me? I was like, why? Like, what have I done? Like, what? You know, you're like, why? And especially when you look after yourself, you're like, I look after myself. Like, what is the problem here? Like, why has my body done this to me? And then you feel like everyone out there is having fun, and you're just there, and you're just like, oh, I'm just here feeling sorry for myself. Then you feel bad because you're like, this isn't me. Why am I feeling sorry for myself? Then I'm like, great. I'm angry at myself because I'm actually feeling sorry for myself. And then it's a cycle. Then you have to like fight and get out of it, and then be like, okay, do you know what? It's fine. You have to accept that everyone's different. Like, not everyone's the same. You know your limitations. If you're not feeling good, like, it's fine if you miss the event. Like, it's not the end of the world, because then you could actually put yourself in a worse position and end up missing a lot more events. So why not just relax, chill out for the one thing, miss the one event, and then when it comes to like an even more fun one, you can go because you actually gave your body that rest time. Like, 100%. It's so important.
Yeah, I've definitely got better at like missing things now. I think at the beginning I was just like, oh God, why is this happening to like
FOMO.
Why me? But it's so weird as well though, because when I got diagnosed, I had this weird like breath of fresh voice. But I had this breath, like, because for so long they told me it was in my head. They told me I probably had depression. They told me that I was making it up, like making me feel like it was a psychiatric thing. And I was like, and I was like, oh my God, like, how can I? What's the point? Like, just to be clear, there's no point in, like, you know, me going around the houses. Like, when you've got Crohn's, most of the time when you're in a flare, you're pooing blood, right? So I'm literally, you're telling me this is something that is in your head, like you're causing your body, because you're probably your gut is taking, you know, going crazy. And I was literally like, at the time in my life, I was like, I have nothing to be depressed about. I am not depressed. Like, I am going to the toilet and bleeding. I am like, you know, and I was literally going crazy to the point it was actually giving me anxiety, because I was like, what am I doing to my own body? And then when they told me it had a name, the name was like, it just kind of like, oh my God, I'm not crazy. Like, it actually is something. But then to find out it didn't have a cure, I was just like, fuck's sake,
Yeah.
why me?
Trust me. I know. I was the same as you. Like, again,
it's a roller coaster of emotions, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because like, I was the same. So it took them a while to kind of like go through the whole diagnosis thing, and they made me feel crazy too. They're like, no, you're young, like this is nothing. And then I'm just sitting there like thinking, am I actually hypochondriac? Like, am I pretend like I'm like, am I imagining this? And like I sat there for a good few days thinking, nah, this is in my head. So I just pretended that these things didn't exist. Then it got worse, and I was like, no, like I'm not like. I'm like, don't ever let anyone doubt what you're thinking. Don't ever let anyone do that, because like it can be very detrimental. Like I thought, no, I know myself. Like I'm not pretending. Like I don't go to the doctor for any little thing. Like I hadn't even been to the doctor for like, I don't know, like 10 years before I went like a few years ago. So I was thinking, no, I doubt that this is something that I'm pretending. And then eventually, like they were like, I done tests and stuff, and at first they said that I was fine. They were like, it's nothing. And then like it took me like what you said about yourself. I had to phone them up and then ask them about one extra test that they didn't give me results for, and then they called me into the office and said that they wanted to do blood tests, and then they were like, oh yeah, you've got MS. Like they just blurted it out, and I was like, I remember I was drinking. I was like, so what? How did it go? I was like, how did it go from you're fine to now you've got this? I was like, no. I was like, I don't think so. I was like, with all due respect, I think I'll be getting a second opinion. And then the doctor was like, no, you've got it. And I was like, do you know you're taken back? And you're like, how rude? Like, how dare you just actually call me in by myself and sit me in a room and not like, I don't know, not actually say to me that maybe you should have someone here with you, because they took me through like a blood test and this procedure where I couldn't drive myself back home. So I had to go home like on my own. And I just took the bus there because it was simple, like it wasn't far for me. I took the bus there, and then like I was thinking, how can you actually allow someone to do that and then expect them to go back home like in agony and like with this news you've just told them, and like I was going to jump on the bus and just be like upset crying on the bus by myself, like, and you wouldn't think to tell me that beforehand, or tell me that maybe you should bring someone with you. Like it was the most unprofessional thing that I'd ever experienced. And after that I changed hospitals because I just had enough of that. But it was just like that feeling of like, you've made me feel like I'm actually crazy, that I've been imagining things in my brain for how long, to then tell me, no, actually you have this and you have inflammation in your brain, like there you go. It was just really just a weird experience, and I just hope that no one else experienced that, because it's not nice.
Do you know
to
what?
feel like you've been made to be crazy.
I wish I could say I was surprised at that, but my diagnosis was so similar. Like so I had my colonoscopy while I was sedated. He told me that. He said, oh, it looks like Crohn's. And I honestly, thank God my boyfriend was there. And because I went to sleep, woke up and didn't have any recollection of what had gone on. And I was like, was that real?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that was real. It felt like a dream. And I was like, okay. Then nobody contacted me at all. He said they'll hear you because we think you've got Crohn's. You're going to hear in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Hear anything. I was chasing to the point 2 weeks later. Obviously, all I'm doing is reading online about Crohn's, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to end up with a bag. I'm going to declare. This is going to happen. Like, I'm reading all the worst case scenarios, because the guy said to me, you've definitely had this for years because your intestines are a mess. And he was like, so, you know, to get you in quickly. Didn't hear anything. It took me 6 weeks to then have to put a complaint into the hospital because they gave me an appointment. This was 2018, November, I think. And they gave me an appointment February 2020. That was my follow-up. Like, this is a joke. Like, so obviously I put a complaint into the hospital and they dealt with it really, really quickly. Got me in, and then the guy was like, oh, it wasn't in his right to tell you that you have Crohn's. We need to do more tests. We don't know if you've got Crohn's. So I was like, okay, brilliant. Don't know why he scared me for the last 2 months. Went and had an MRI. So I'm there thinking, oh, I've not got Crohn's. It's nothing. Had an MRI. Went back to the same guy, and he's like, okay, so we're going to start your medication. And I'm like, what for? And he's like, for the Crohn's. And I'm like, I'm on my own again. And I'm like, you've just that I might not have it, then to just be like, okay, so
your emotions.
And I was just like, I know they were in a rush, and I know that NHS is strapped, but people,
but that's still,
it's a big bit of news.
Cruel.
It's a big news. And I was like, even though I was already prepared for it, I was still like, he really set me up there for a big fall. Like, I really thought that I had a big hope that it wasn't going to be something like that. And then he just sent me off.
It's kind of dehumanizing you as well.
Yeah, like
dehumanizing you.
Like, and then they sent me off with steroids, and then I didn't have another appointment for 6 months. Just my diagnosis was not how you see it on the films. Do you know what I mean?
Oh gosh, no.
Very much like, okay, here's your steroids, goodbye. Like,
and that's exactly how it was. And they're like, okay, bye then. Well, I'm like calling out, like crying, like walking out, and there's like, see ya. And they just leave you to it.
Numb. I was a bit numb. I didn't kind of have any emotions. I was just like, okay. I remember just being like, all right, okay, like, and just being so, I don't know, I felt just completely cut off from the whole thing because it was such a bizarre experience.
It was,
They have been better.
I imagine.
They have been better since.
Exactly. Give yourself that time and that rest. Like, it's so easy, and especially if you're a natural person who is like, who's active and does a lot, like, I think it is very easy to reach burnout, and you don't even realize until you do, like, until it happens. So definitely, please rest. Please don't force yourself.
Like, same as me.
I don't. I don't want that. I don't want that to happen because obviously I care about you, so I don't want you to burn yourself out. Like, I know how easy it is to do it. I think it's like knowing how to accept like help too, like accept help and like have rest, like. Book in dates with yourself where you're just like where you're just having a nap. Honestly, like, it's the best feeling in the world, like where you're having a nap, or you're just like having a self-love day where you're just like having like your favorite meals, like have a cocktail to yourself, have some wine to yourself, and just go to bed, like a good night's sleep, like without anyone there like being like no, like in your head, like just having good sleep, and then the next day you can wake up and go crazy. Like, it's like the balance is so important, I think, like. And also like remembering like you're not like everyone else, like obviously like I'm always told this like by my partner. He's always like, you need to remember like you're not it's like you need to remember you're not Superwoman.
But we are.
Because like
we are we actually are Superwomen.
I know, this is it. No, it's very true. She gets t-shirts. Oh my gosh, we should do we'll talk about it later, but like you're on the same wavelength, I know. But it's true, because like you need to remember, like we need to remember, like we aren't 100%. We're not 100% like everyone else. Like, we have obviously other things that make up that percentage, but health-wise we aren't like 100%. But I think because we've constantly been working with people who are like healthy and who are fit, and we are fit ourselves, that we naturally think that we're in the same category, but we're not. And also, when other people treat you like, because you have an invisible illness, people treat you like they don't see it. So because we're treated this way, we kind of like forget to. We forget that, okay, no, we do need some extra care. We do need some extra love. We need that extra bit. But because we're so used to just doing everything, it's just, you forget yourself, and then you end up getting to the level again where you just burn out because you're taking on the same load as everyone else, and you're not doing anything to kind of like counteract that. So like, I've been making sure that I book in like my extra massages, just because I'm like, I need it. Like, my body's getting tight, like I feel tired, like, and it helps like massively. Like, you definitely need to like to think about the self-love and self-care routine, because it's so needed.
Yeah, I agree. I think I definitely have got better at that now, and I feel like I've got myself to a point where I don't burn myself out like I used to. But like, when I first got diagnosed, went on this whole like thing of like, I'm not going to be defeated, and I'm going to do all this stuff. And like, I did a half marathon with Crohns and Colitis UK, and then when I did that, like, I literally went from like never running anything to doing a half marathon in like 5 months. And even though it was one of the best achievements ever, like for me, I just changed my medication basically a week before. And I said to the doctor, well, I've got this half marathon. And he was like, we need to change your medication because this isn't working. So you need to, I wouldn't advise that you do the half marathon. And I was like, well, I've raised over £800. I can't not do the half marathon. So I'm going to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, raining, like, and then like 2 days before, I got a bladder infection, and I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling so ill. And I said to my mum, I was like, Mom, my chest, like, I was saying, she stayed with me, and I was like, my chest is hurting me, like I'm struggling to breathe. And she was like, you just got anxiety. You know, my mum was like, you're just stressed because you're running this marathon. And then obviously I did the half marathon, and obviously it was the most amazing thing for me that I've ever done. And I got to the end and I was like, I actually can't breathe. And it turned out that I had pancreatitis at the time. I've told you this before. So the medication that was on for the Crohn's, the new one, I was actually allergic to it, which caused my pancreas to inflame. And so I ended up in hospital after that. But really, like, that was a point in my life that even though I'd raised that money, I should have probably said, you know what, thank you so much, guys. I'm going to keep this money. I'm going to do a half marathon when I'm ready. But actually right now, I'm not. Even though I did it, and I'm so proud I did it. Like I said, I was so emotional. And I was like, honestly, I'm so glad I did it. But that was one of them things that was just, you know, I'd just been diagnosed and I was going on a rampage and I was doing like things that my body didn't really have been doing. And I wouldn't do something like that now. Now I'd be brave enough to be like, I am going to complete it, but I can't. I could complete it.
You can't do.
Even that, babe, like, honestly. So it took me 2.5 hours. So proud, because I've been training at like the time of 3 hours. I did not stop. And like I was telling people, everyone goes, what's your time? And I'm like, I didn't do it for that. I did it for clarity. And then I said to this one at work, like, I took 2.5 hours. And he went, oh, bloody hell, what did you do? Walk it. And I literally was like, that is the biggest achievement that I've done fitness-wise.
Exactly.
And you've just completely like stamped all over it. And it doesn't matter if I'm sick or not. I shouldn't have to say to you, well, actually, you know, my pancreas is about I shouldn't have to say that. Never, ever. Anyone that like listens to this belittle someone's achievement. Even if it's
honestly,
and if I did walk, what's it to you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
it's just bad thing criticizing someone about it.
So now I just don't even answer when people say, what was your time? Like, I'm proud of my time, but like, don't ask me that. That's not why I did it. Like, I'm not.
What was your time? When was the last time you done something for charity? When have you helped anyone but yourself? I would say that. Because people, honestly, I'd say that. I have no mind.
I want to talk about COVID and how you feel. Like, so one, did you feel any like extra stress because are you classed as a high risk category or not?
I wouldn't say like, I mean, like I had these conversations with doctors and stuff, but I kind of just went, oh no, I don't think I am. I'm fine. Like I kind of, it's bad, but I kind of just said, no, so that's not me. Like I'm alright. Like I think the way I am, I know that I used to hand sand before hand sanding was like a trend. Like the way I've been brought up is to make sure like you don't touch, like when you're out, you don't touch things and touch your face. And so I knew that I was alright kind of thing. So it didn't bring extra stress to me in that sense. Like I was more stressed for people who were like over vulnerable and like they couldn't go out, and it's the stress of being inside. Like when we got told that we can go out for one bit of exercise, my gosh, I was going for the longest walks ever, just because like for me the stress is being locked inside and not being able to do the one thing that brings you happiness, like getting fresh air. So for me that was it. But I did used to feel a bit of a way when people would cough and sneeze when they passed me, but that was always there. Like I feel like a way when anyone sneezes like near me, just because like I know that my immune system's quite like it's quite weak, like, but I kind of like get on with it. Like I know that when people sneeze near me, I kind of get sick quite quickly. What about you though?
So I got told I was high risk because I'm on injections that are, I can't remember. I'm on this, I think it's called biologic medicine. So it is an immunosuppressant. It's a type of immunosuppressant, I think. I'm so like, you know what, I don't know. It's better me to not say it than say I know when I don't know. But I'm on these things and they do lower my immune system. So they definitely lower my immune system. And so I've always been quite cautious since I started the steroids. I was a bit like, at first I was really, really scared because I was like, okay, they've told me I'm high risk. They've sent me the letter to say don't go outside. Then they sent me a letter. Actually, we've tested it, and because you've been on your medication for long enough, you're actually moderate risk. So to be careful. But if you have any flare-ups, when you're in a flare, then that's when you're most, vulnerable. So I had about 2 flares over lockdown. So those times I just completely like staying inside. I am someone who catches everything. Like I've had everything. I've had the norovirus. I had swine flu when it came around. I've had it all, babe. Like I had swine flu. It was awful. And like, so this is what I mean when people say, oh no, you won't get it, and I'm like, no, I've actually got any virus has ever been on my body. So like basically if I've touched wood, I've not had COVID so far. So I want to ask you, because I know that you're someone who can't wear a mask, so if you're happy to talk about how people make you feel. Because I wear a mask, and you should wear it if you're not medically exempt, obviously. But obviously a lot of people are, and this is the invisible illness. Like if you're an old woman or man, people are not going to be bothered wearing a mask. But if someone that looks like you doesn't wear a mask,
people think I'm just like, I'm troublemaker, like a troublemaker who's deliberately not wearing it because she doesn't want to. She wants to rebel against society, and it's like, I don't actually care. It's not that deep to me in that sense. Like, I care about protecting people, of course, but I'm not deliberately trying to fight against something. Like, I'm not. I've got other things to kind of like worry about. But I'd say the thing that's frustrating is that people don't mind their own business. Like I was saying earlier on, like, I think, and I wasn't saying it to you, saying someone else, but I think that people kind of like, they just concern themselves with things that just, it's none of their concern. Like, I feel like, I know there are people that are blatantly doing things just to be extra and to be different, or to kind of like rebel. But I just think, like, you don't know anyone's story. Like, you don't know what anyone's going through. Like, who are you to actually question someone on their illness, or like question why they're not doing something, because you don't know why they're not doing it. And like, I got a lot of this where people kind of just give you dirty looks and stuff. And the thing that's very frustrating to me is that it comes from the people who aren't even using the mask correctly. Like, if you're wearing it correctly, you're supposed to wear it so it covers your whole face. These people are not even wearing it. They're wearing it like this. And I'm like, okay, you're wearing it not properly. Your nose is sticking out. You're touching everything. You're rubbing your eyes. And then you're going to look at me like, as if I'm spreading it, when I'm the person who's standing, like, I don't even sit next to people. I stand on the edge. I don't even cough on the train. Like, I just stand on the edge. I barely even touch anything. And then I feel like, and you're giving me dirty looks for actually being cautious. Someone who actually washes their hands all the time, has like hand sand with her all the time, and I'm getting the dirty looks. I just feel like it's just out of order, because again, like, you don't know what people are going through. I feel like, just, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, fair enough, but just keep your distance then. Like, because the thing is, like, I'm more vulnerable than you wearing your mask. So for me, it's more of a problem for me, but I just can't put it on. So I feel like it's just a bit ignorant to actually look at someone and then just feel like they should be wearing it and judge them, even though you're probably causing them more harm than they are you. Because they're gonna take precautions. Like, I take precautions to make sure that I'm fine, whereas they're not. Like I said, I've seen people put it on, rub their face, then rub all the inside of the mask, then put it on, and I'm like, okay, you've just cancelled the mask out, so there's no point of wearing it in the first place. You're the one that's probably going to give someone something if you do that, and then you go home and then you talk to your family, then touch like stuff. I think it's really ignorant. I just think that people should actually mind their business, because if you're minding your own business and yourself, then you're going to be protected.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't feel comfortable being around people on like public transport or anything, I just feel like maybe you shouldn't be on it. Like, it's not, I don't want to sound like harsh or anything, but I just think, just the way that I've been treated, I can only imagine other people are too. And because I'm someone that, if someone did say something to me, I would say something back to them. So I feel like I can do that. Whereas I know there's probably people who are in a similar position, and then they feel really bad when they go home, so they wouldn't say this. So that's why I have to kind of be harsh now, where I just feel like you should mind your business. Like, mind what you're doing. Don't worry about anyone else. Like, focus on protecting yourself, putting your mask on properly, washing your hands, like, after you touch things. Don't touch your face, then you'll be fine. Don't worry about someone who's not wearing it because of health reasons. Like, I just think, but then I think a lot of the causes because people aren't aware of these illnesses.
Yeah.
Because the same thing, when I first went to the hospital for like an MRI, they were like, they looked at it and they looked at the paper and they were like, you? Then I'm like, yeah, okay, do you want me to stand here and explain my life story to you? Like, just because I was like, hi, how are you? Like, my appointment's at 10 o'clock. And they were kind of like, doesn't make sense. And I'm like, so should I be like, hi there, I'm really tired. My appointment's at 10 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like, could you just, like, should I do that? Like, do you not want me to be like, hello? Like,
yeah.
Like, I just think you're labeled, like, should I look like really, like, I don't know, like, tired? People judge you, especially when you're young.
Yeah, health professionals as well. Health professionals they don't all know what they're doing there. Yeah, people should mind their own business. So like with Crohn's, if we're part of the charity, or you're eligible for like a disabled toilet key.
Yeah.
Get a card that you can give to businesses that they'll let you use the toilet. So if you go to like Morrison's, something like that, you need to use it. They can't like say no. But I went in Victoria Station to the toilet and I was like, so desperate. So there's the toilets that are upstairs that are not free. So I went with my key to the disabled toilet, and this bodyguard was like, "Hey, you can't use that toilet." And I was like, and I just like looked at him and like shake my key at him and was like, "I've got a key." And he was like, "Oh, you've got a key." And then he like waited for me outside the toilet and was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know you had a key." And I thought, but why would I be approaching the disabled toilet? It's locked. So you need to scream like, "I have a key." You've just completely humiliated me, and now you want to apologize.
Exactly. It's too late for that.
Trained, but it's a lack of training. Like everybody should be trained on that, like on invisible illnesses. Like I am so like in the minute, like anywhere I work, I'm trying to get them to do this like campaign.
Yeah.
Not every illness is visible, and having the toilet accessible for people that don't use those facilities, because it's so especially with COVID now, like in COVID, long walks and stuff, I was like, well, we have to go on a route where I can use it. There's nowhere to go to the toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just walking around my local park round and around again, because if I need a toilet, what am I going to do? Like, I can't hold it. And obviously I have bladder issues as well. So I'm just both sides. Like I need to use the toilet. So like, it's one of those things that I think companies just need to be more aware of, or like, and like I say, health professionals as well.
But this is the thing though, but do you not think they know, because they've, especially health professionals, because they know this already because they've worked in the environment. But I feel like people just have their judgments anyway, just because they look at you and assume that you're too well looking to have a problem. And I think it's just like, it would take a while for that to be like, it's been ingrained into people. It'll take a while for them to kind of like get rid of that sort of like judgment.
But I just wanted to ask you to finish. How do you think like society and people can help? So what do you think could help you in your day-to-day life? Like just to make things easier?
For me, I think it's a hard one. I think not being ignorant. I think it's the judgment. Yeah, being judgmental. I think because this is something that can help a lot of issues in this world. Being judgmental, looking at someone and assuming that they're not doing it because of this reason, or they're like this for it. Like, it's being judgmental. Like, and I've said this many times because I'm a firm believer in it. Mind your own friggin' business. Like, it's something so simple, but I just feel like mind your own. Like, if that's not directly hurting you, then you should kind of like just mind your own, unless you know what it is, or you feel like you can help in some way. Like, if you don't know about something, I think you should ask, like, are you okay there? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take a lot of effort to say, are you okay? Like, you can see someone's physically tired, or they look like they're not with it. Just asking them, are you okay? Because you never know, that they might just break down and be like, you know, I've had a really long day, like I'm really tired, or like, could I just have that, like you said, could I have that seat? But it takes for you to ask them, can I have that seat? Even though you probably did look tired and you probably looked like you needed it. But I just think we're not aware as human beings. We don't look at other humans and think, oh, do you know what, that person just looks like they've probably had a long day. Like, do I need this seat? Can I give it to them? Being considerate and aware, like, of other people, because we know things like this are out there. You don't have to question someone to the point where you want them to tell you their whole life story, but you could think, well, do you know what, maybe this is something like that, or maybe there's something I don't know here. Maybe they're going through something that I don't know, so maybe I can help in some kind of way by asking, or just being kind to strangers. Like, that's it. It's basic things, but I just feel like we lack so much in society. So much. So
I agree. I think
don't be a dick. That's it.
That's the moral of the story. I think just be aware and like realize that even for people that, like, when we talk about it and stuff, people might be like, oh god, she's talking about that again. Just for one moment that you hear that person talking about it, we live that every single minute of every single day.
Yeah, exactly.
And just to be, sometimes, like, I'm not saying like you need to check on, like, me personally, I don't need to check on me every day or at all really, but like just be more aware. And I think even at work and stuff, I think companies could be way more like check on you. Like, I don't know, like I say, every day, but I think when you have got staff that have got illnesses that you might forget, then put it in the diary to check every 3 months and just be like, you know,
every so often.
Let me make sure they're fine. Let me make sure that, because sometimes you do need to be like, are you all right? Do you need to step back? Do you need to do things? Because I know for me, as an actress, I was really, really scared about coming out with it, because I was like, oh, are people going to want to hire me? Are people want to have me on because I might be ill? And actually, like, me, I do 8 spin classes a week. I can get through a day on set. Do you know what I mean? But you just sometimes understand that you are not feeling great, or you're not, you know, sort of thing. And
I kind of you might need a moment.
Yeah, but I think that's a me thing. It's no one's ever made me feel that way. I just think it was a personal thing. People are scared to come out with things because they might not get a job, or they might not get something, and it just
they don't be put in that box.
These little things, like these little campaigns that you can get involved in, like I said, like just makes people feel so much more welcome. And just like just being aware, educating staff on these things, so that staff don't have to be like buzzing around going, oh, what is this that she's doing, or can she use the toilet, or can you know, they sit down, you know, just little things like that. I think that people just it'd be really nice if people just kind of checked up a little bit more, or like just stop getting kind of annoyed, or just realizing it's our life. Like somebody made a comment to me, and it's a friend of mine, and I did explain to him so wrong what he said, but I basically posted myself, like injecting myself one time on social media, and he just said to me, why did you feel the need to post that? And he was like, I just wonder why you felt the need to post that. And I said, well, why do you feel the need to post the food that you eat? Like, why do you feel that? Because that is my Sunday. That is what I do every Sunday. I take it down and say, you're happy to talk to the camera and show everyone your gym session, show everyone your food, show everyone your drinks. But as soon as I show you what I'm doing on Sunday, because that makes you feel uncomfortable, you're asking me why I felt the need to do that. And I really did understand what I was saying, but I was like, why does that, like, people assume that when we talk about these things, we're doing it for attention, or we want everyone to feel sorry for us. When actually, I am actually somebody who, I don't need people to feel sorry for me, but I know so many people that have this condition so much worse than I have it, or as I have it, or like, and like I say, with Crohn's, in a year's time I could be in hospital. Like you just don't know. Now I'm very grateful for where I am right now, because I know that I'm kind of living on like time that's like this time is precious to me, because I'm quite well.
Of course.
So why I am well, I need to fight for the people that are not well, and like raise awareness
of course,
that can't do it. So
give a voice.
So stop asking ignorant questions, really, because I just think before you speak, like, you know, that's the only thing I think for me that I should think, just be a bit more sensitive to people.
That's it.
And like, I'd love to learn. I read about invisible illnesses quite a lot now, because I'm just so I follow quite a lot of pages on Instagram and stuff, and I'm just so fascinated by what people go through. And it's like,
exactly.
It's nice to have people that kind of going through the same thing, but also understand how kind of I feel personally quite lucky to be able to do the things that I do and have the job that I have, when I know say some people don't have that. So it's also like
exactly
wow. And we can feel gratitude when we are sick. People that are fully well, like, honestly, have a little bit of gratitude, because you don't understand how lucky you are to like just feel 100%.
No, innit, it's true. Be grateful for what we have, man. Like, honestly, it's the same reason why, like, I done that charity thing too, because I felt like, you know, when you take your body for granted, and like, we know that we can physically move. Like, there was a time when I literally couldn't, like, I was like bedbound, and then I felt like, oh my god, like straight away, the first thing I thought, oh my gosh, all the times I could have gone for a run and I didn't go for a run. I was thinking how selfish, like, how dare I do that to myself.
But before we finish, do you want to tell anyone about your charity? You can tell everyone if you want to about what you're raising money.
Okay, so I'm raising money for, the thing is, like, this is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. So, like, for me, because, like, I'm so excited about being able to move, and like, I just thought, I don't know about you as well, but like, when you go through stuff, like, it's bad that it happens when we go through stuff, but it makes you appreciate life a lot more. So I feel like we wake up every day, like, we're awake, like today. So it's such an amazing thing. Like, you woke up, you can actually walk out of your house. That's so incredible. Some people don't have that. So move your body because you can, not because you have to. Like, that's my like thing now. Like, move because you can, not because you have to. Because like, when it gets taken away from you, you will soon start reminiscing on the days you could do it. So why not do it now? Like, look after your body, because you only get one. So that's why the whole charity thing, like, I started, so that I can raise money for specifically MS, because I know people who are really active and they love moving, and then they couldn't do that. So I want to like show people that just because you're going through anything, or have an invisible illness or anything in life, like, it doesn't need to hold you back from what you actually want to do, or from moving. WeSpeakSoul, MS Challenge.
And the links in all your bios, aren't they?
Yeah,
I'm the same. When I did that charity run, I was like, I just wanted to do more and more and more, and I'm like,
exactly.
I want to climb a mountain, but my doctor says no. So as soon as I get the all clear, I'm up Kilimanjaro. I'm telling you.
I'm actually currently waiting for my doctor to tell me that, okay, then straight I go straight to the mountain. I'm waiting for them.
100% what I want to do as well. It just gave me an amazing feeling doing that, and also like the charity has helped me personally, so I feel so passionate about it as well. So it's great, and there's just so much more that we can do.
You'll get there. You'll get there soon,
mate. I've got it. But thank you so much for coming on and talking so openly.
Thank you for having me.
Your MS, like, it's amazing, and you're amazing, and I'm really proud of you because you're just so.
I'm proud of you too.